What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast where I am your host, Rasean, as well as your favorite internet neurotransformation coach. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about why people struggle with confidence, why you don't have it, and how to actually build it. Confidence, in a nutshell, is very, very important. In fact, crucial for taking action and achieving goals. A lot of times we don't take the action that we want because we don't have the confidence. We lack it. And it could be due to a variety of reasons. And so we're actually going to be walking through four main reasons that I found as to why we potentially do lack the confidence that we need to be able to take those actions, as well as walking through how to build the confidence to do so. So first reason as to why we probably don't have the confidence that we want to take the actions that we need to take is because of fear of failure. Now, fear of failure can come from past failures that we've had. We did something in the past that did not work out so well, and the repercussions were so harsh and so grave to us at the time that we swore to ourselves, I will never do that again. We also have the fear of repeating past mistakes, because the brain is, again, wired to help you to survive and not to thrive. Because of that, when you want to make another decision, your brain will remind you very quickly of the past failure that you had. So think about somebody, for example, in college who has an exam coming up and they studied, they did this, they did that, they did what they had to do, and they still failed the exam. Now, to that student, that fear of failure can be detrimental to them. So that way, when exam number 2 comes around, now they're having anxiety and panic attacks and all kinds of stuff. And now they don't know what to do because their brain is telling them that last time that they did what they thought worked, it didn't work. And so now what are they going to do? They have this failure from a past experience that's causing them to now impact their future performance. So that can be very dangerous. So watch out for that fear of failure, number 1. Number 2 is comparison syndrome. When you compare yourself to someone who's much, much further along than you, it can be incredibly demotivating. Every single person's journey is unique, and comparisons will undermine your self-confidence. So, if you look at somebody who is doing what you want to do, they probably have the setup you want. They have the audience that you want. When you compare that you haven't even started to them having amassed an audience and getting people just in a room simply because their name is being called, it's so easy, without hesitation, to just think to yourself, man, I'm never going to get there. There's so many people already there. I'm not going to stand out. Brother, you didn't even start yet. How are you going to be able to tell yourself those things when you didn't even start yet? Not to mention the person who you're comparing yourself to started 5, 6, 7 years ago and then remained consistent through the ins, outs, ups, and downs. You haven't even started yet. So yes, you might want to reach that person one day, and I do admire you very much so for having that goal. But at the same time, what you want to do is find someone who's closer to you in terms of position and along the same path that you want to be, and make that your short-term goal. That's going to lead into one of the resolutions that I have of how we can build that confidence, but we'll get to that later. A good example of comparison syndrome is when you go to the gym for the first time, or if we go for the gym for the first time in a long time. Either way, you're going to see people in there who are most likely worse off than you in terms of physical shape, and you're going to see people who are better than you in terms of physical shape. It is what it is. You can't just go in there and see somebody who's ripped to the bones and say, wow, that person looks really, really good. I'll never get there. And then you quit. That person probably looked like what you look like now and worked hard and made no excuses and got it done. So the comparison syndrome that you're putting in front of yourself right now is literally self-imposed, and it will undermine your self-confidence, and it will prevent you from achieving your goals. But that's only point number 2. Point number 3 is negative self-talk. The mind is incredibly powerful, and negative self-talk leads to a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you constantly talk down on yourself, your mind and body will respond accordingly. For example, if you keep telling yourself, man, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, your brain will find every single reason to make you believe that you cannot do it, and you will act accordingly. If you tell your brain, yeah, there's no way I can do a backflip, you're never going to do a backflip. If you tell your brain, there's no way I'm ever going to get good at public speaking, you'll never get good at public speaking. There's no way I'm going to be able to ditch my friend group. I've had this friend group for years. You're not going to ditch them. It's not until you actually realize the thoughts that you have are not serving you, and then you realize, how can I make them serve me? How can I reel these thoughts back in and realize, okay, me thinking these thoughts are not helpful. They're not benefiting me in any way. What is a thought that can benefit me in this position? So pay attention to what you tell yourself in your mind. And the last reason that I have for you as to why we potentially don't have that confidence is actually fear of success. Fear of success. Yes. So I know fear of failure. I've preached fear of failure to death, but the fear of success actually can hinder us, because it's not just a matter of, well, what if we fail? What if we succeed? Because that means increased expectations, increased responsibility. That means more people are looking at us. I want to be able to blend into the background. I don't want people to see me. And so the success that we say that we want brings new challenges and new expectations. And those can be very intimidating, because this is a ground that we personally have never traversed before. It's all going to be new. And so the fear of not only getting the success, but being able to maintain that success can actually prevent people from trying. Let's go back to the gym example. Sometimes the comparison syndrome will kick in. Let's say you are an OG, you are a boss, and you don't even worry about the comparison syndrome, which is great. And let's say you've also passed the fear of failure. So you're not even thinking about, oh, what if I fail? You're already going to the gym, you're already doing your thing, but the fear of success can creep in. What if I do get to that coveted, let's say 10% body fat or whatever? Let's say I do get to the point where I can see my abs. Let's say I do get to the point where I'm at that physique that I really, really wanted all the time. That means I'm going to have to keep it up. I'm going to have to keep eating healthy. I'm going to have to keep tracking my calories. I can't go out and just eat whatever food I want. I want to be able to eat the pizza. I want to be able to eat the donuts. I want to be able to eat the cookies. I don't want to have to live the rest of my life eating just plants in order for me to keep this physique. I don't want that. So we let off the gas. So that can creep in there. Or let's say you're at work, avoiding a promotion at work because there's going to be increased responsibilities, increased expectations. More people are looking at you. There's going to be more things that are going to be on you. And I heard this one other YouTuber say that, you know, when you're in a position of power in a company, like a C-suite person, you want to have that what's called a one throat to choke. You want to find that one person who is responsible for the actions that need to take place for a project or a program or whatever it is that it may be. And you might be getting a promotion. You might be in the position of being that throat that needs to be choked. Okay, don't get weird with this, okay? Being that one throat that needs to be choked. You are the person who's going to be responsible for that. And knowing that that's going to come with that position, you don't want it, because that's more responsibility. That's more expectation. That's more accountability. And that can also cause us to not have the confidence. So with that in mind, how do we build this confidence then? Well, first of all, I have my 3 points here, but I actually want to start off with a step 0 that I didn't write down. And that is to ensure that what you want is actually what you want. Do you actually want success? Do you actually want that promotion? Do you actually want that body? Do you actually want to be able to have 1 to 2 years of money saved up in your bank account? Do you actually want it? Or are you just saying that you want it? And here's a quick test to see if what you want is really what you want. Do the 5 whys exercise. What is it that you want? And then ask yourself, why do you want it? Answer that question. Then ask yourself, why is that the case? And then answer that and keep going down the line and ask yourself why. It's usually 5 whys that you need to ask yourself. But if it needs more, ask yourself as many whys as you need, so you can get down to the root. Once you get to that root reason, if it doesn't spark something emotional in you, you may not stick with it. What I found is more often than not, when you give yourself that 5 whys exercise, and if that emotion is strong when you get to the end of that exercise, chances are you are going to have a much better and a much easier time sticking with when the going gets tough than you just making a bunch of wordplay. So that's your step 0. Make sure what you want is actually what you want. Assuming that it is, now we can move on to what I wrote down in my notes, with the first step being action preceding belief. You don't need full belief in yourself in order to start taking action. You really don't. For me to start this podcast, I didn't have full belief that I could have a podcast. Do you think I saw myself when I first started as having the equipment that I do, with all the information and being able to go to different events and network with people? That wasn't even a thought. I started off this show literally with the goal of just me realizing that other people need the information that I was given and I was blessed to have as a young person, that allowed me to mature as fast as I did. And other people just simply did not have the access to this information that I have in my head, and that I was given to by parents and tutors and mentors and coaches and everything. People don't have it. And so my goal was to be able to give that back to people so that way they can mature as well and become a better overall human being and not just walking through life zombified. That was my whole entire goal. And it still is the goal. Now, the medium may have changed in the way that I deliver, and there might be more resources and things that branch off of that, but it all comes from that core desire to just simply help more people to live a better life. That's where it started. And that's all I had. Did I fully believe I could change the world? No. Do I think I could change the world now, me by myself? No. But I don't need to have full belief that I'll be able to be the best person to do this. I just needed to have that why, and that why was emotionally strong enough for me to put out that first episode. And then I learned as I went. I took these small steps to build the confidence over time, which is my second point, which is the importance of an IPIT, an IPIT, or an incremental positive improvement or impact task. You want to focus on the small, manageable tasks that lead you towards your larger goal. Well, again, with me starting the podcast, the biggest thing was what? I need to be able to record an episode and put it onto the internet. That's it. That's all I needed to do. So what are the steps that I need to implement in order to get that outcome? I need a microphone. Thankfully, I already had one. I need a way to record. I found a software to do that. I need to find a hosting platform, since at the time I was a college student, I didn't have any money to really be spending on this kind of thing. So I need to be as free as possible. I found a software to do that. On and on and on. I was doing IPITs before I knew what an IPIT was. And so doing that, I took those tasks, made them small, made them manageable, and chunked them down to the point where now I'm able to do this. I have this. Well, I'm not gonna say the show is massive, but now I have the show. It has people who listen on a relatively consistent basis. So thank you to all of you guys who continue to listen. Worldwide listenership. So I thank you, every single person who's allowing me to be pumped into your earbuds. And then here we are. But it only happened because I took the action and took a small step, figured out what worked, did more of that, figured out what didn't work, and either stop doing it or change it so that way it does work. And if I change it to something that does not work, I do it again. I either will say, okay, this just isn't working, eliminate it, or change it until it becomes something that does work. And when it does work, keep doing what does work until it doesn't work anymore. And then change it or drop it. It's a very simple flowchart. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, do either plan A, drop it, or plan B, tweak it until it becomes path one, which is it works. But the problem is, a lot of us don't have the patience to be able to do those iterative improvements. But again, if you make them IPITs, it takes a lot of the pain out of that process. And lastly, consistent positive action. Consistent positive actions reinforce your belief over time. This is why I said action precedes belief. If you simply just do, you will build the confidence over time. When I was starting the podcast, again, all I did was make an episode. That proved to myself I can run a show. I can talk into a microphone and upload some audio content. And that was a positive action that I took that led to a positive feedback loop of, oh, I just made a podcast. I talked into a microphone, uploaded it to the internet, and now people are listening. Boom. That's increasing the belief right there that I can run a show and I can give information to people. Now we have branched off. We now have the YouTube, which you're probably watching me right now on YouTube. We now have different kind of resources that are in the description of every episode that I put out. It's all there. And that is only through me building up the confidence over years. 2020 is when I started the podcast, November 2020 to be specific. That is when the first episode was uploaded. At the time of this recording, it's 2024. 4 years. People don't have the patience for 4 years. That's the problem. But the only way that you're going to see that action actually turn into belief and to build that confidence is for you to take action and do the iPits over a long period of time. There's no way around it. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic pill. It's just plain old hard work and dedication, regardless of what life throws at you. That's pretty much what I have for you. So as a quick recap, understand that confidence struggles stem from the 4 reasons a lot of times. There are other reasons, but these are the 4 that I want to touch on today, which are the fear of failure, comparison syndrome, negative self-talk, and the fear of success. And building confidence involves taking those small, consistent actions, focusing on those iPits, and just overall taking action, guys. Taking action and doing. And the belief and the confidence will follow. That's what I have for you for this week's episode. I will see you all on the next episode. And guys, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode of Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast. Guys, again, if you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the show for weekly uploads. If you love what you heard, be sure to sign up for that email list. And if you hated what you heard, be sure to share it with somebody who will appreciate it. Also, if you guys want to get access to the show notes or any kind of resource or link or to anything that was referenced in this episode, be sure to check out that episode's description below. You'll also find the contact information, any freebies, or any sort of thing from our little corner of the internet. Check out the episode's description. It's going to be an absolute gold mine for you guys. Until next time, take care, and I will see you in the next episode.